Alright, hello everyone, it's Teamrocketdraws here with another Pokemon drawing tutorial, and for this video we're gonna be drawing Tyrantrum. So as you guys can see on screen, this is how he ends up looking like. So if you guys want to learn how to draw him, then let's get started. I'm also gonna put up a reference right now on screen, that way it's easier for you guys to draw, and at the same time you guys can get all your details. So yeah guys, Tyrantrum was a highly requested Pokemon, especially by Jaffe Gabino Reyes. I'm sorry man that it took me so long to do it. It's just that there was so many like requests, you know. It's really hard to just do one, you know. But I'm sorry that it took so long. It also took me a long time just because I was trying to find the right one, just because all the references they seemed a little bit hard, you know. Tyrantrum is not an easy Pokemon to draw, so I was looking for the best one, and I found this reference, which is actually fan art. So I thought this one was the best one, so we're gonna try this one. So just keep in mind guys, to do your line slide and not press that hard, that way we could erase our reference lines to do our final drawing. So we're gonna start off by doing that line at that angle like I have it there guys, and then I did like the ends almost like an arrow shape, and then I just connected them and got the shape right here. So try to do this as close as you can, because the shapes that we're gonna do are basically gonna give us our final drawing, you know. So right there, split it in half. Right here I'm showing you guys with my fingers that it should basically be the same on both sides, you know. You guys can use your fingers, you guys can use a paper just to make sure that it's right in the middle. So just try to get it like this guys, and exactly at the not exactly at the right angle, but just try to get as close as to the angle that I have it here. So now we're gonna do a circle, which is actually gonna be the snout area. So right here I'm marking off where it should basically end up at. So I do those lines just so I can know where to go, you know. So if you guys notice on the top, it doesn't there's a small gap in between that and the middle line, and then in the left side or the first shape that we did at the bottom, if you guys notice, it basically goes into the middle, and then on the right side it goes out of the shape, and then it basically lines up with the bottom, you know. So just try to do this as close as you can. Here I'm just pointing out the gap right here, and then around there we're gonna do this line right here. Just pay close attention to how far it is to the middle line on top. Hopefully it makes sense guys. It's gonna be a little bit confusing just because the first shapes that we do are not gonna make sense until we start adding all the details, and after that you guys are gonna start seeing Tyrantrum. So basically the circle is gonna be the snout, and then like the other part is gonna be like the forehead, you know, the head. So yeah, so now right here we're gonna do this shape, which is actually the shape on his neck. If you guys look at the reference, you guys might be able to see where which one we're doing. And then around here, a little bit higher than the one we did on the other side, we're gonna do this like straight line, and it doesn't go that far away, and then we could just curve it and connect it to this one on top over here. There we go. And if you guys look at the reference, it's the neck part, so maybe you guys could see it what we're trying to do. And remember guys, it's not that I'm going fast, I'm actually going slower than other people that do tutorials. Just pause the video as you guys go, you know. Take your time, you know, like it all depends. How should I say? Yeah, just pause the video basically. Alright, so now right here, what am I gonna do? Alright, so basically the length of the circle, that's what I'm trying to point out. We're gonna do the reference line right at the bottom right here, so it should basically be not the length of the circle, but a little bit higher than half. So right here I'm showing you guys, so basically like that much, you know. It's just a reference thing guys, you guys don't have to do it exactly that long. It's just giving you guys an example of how long how far to do this line, so you guys could just guess where it is. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, you know, but just to give you guys an idea of how far it is. And we're gonna do that reference line going across because it's gonna help us do this part. So we go, now that we know that this one goes up to that line, you know, then we could just do it, and it just makes it a little bit easier than just guessing how far it is, how big to make it, you know. So just doing that reference line at the bottom really helps out. So basically this one is gonna be like the thigh on Tyrantrum, and it's actually almost the same size as the first shape that we did. Right here I measure the shape, so it should be to there. So now let's measure it up, and guess what guys, I got it perfect. And right here I give you guys like a yeah, you know, because it wasn't planned, you know. It's just I just got it that long, you know, like that that good. So I was really proud of myself that I got exactly the same length. But yeah, so just roughly, guys, it doesn't have to be exactly, but just try to get it as close as you can. And the same for the thickness, you know, how thick it is. So basically this is gonna be his thigh. If you guys look at the reference, you guys might be able to see almost like the shape of it. Alright, so now that we have that, we could just do the bottom right here of Tyrantrum, like his belly, that is, or his chest. We could just connect it like this and just curve the line, you know. It basically lines up in the same level as on the other side. So now around here, a little gap, this is actually gonna be the tail, you know. So it goes like straight up almost, and then it starts curving, and then it doesn't go further than this part right here, by looking at the reference. So I do that reference line just to tell me, you know, that it doesn't go further than that. So those lines are reference lines, are just there to help us. So that's why I recommend that you guys do them for everything. Every time you draw, you know, it just helps us place everything on the right spot, you know, or it just makes it easier. Alright, so now we can just curve the tail right here. It looks a little bit awkward. I was having trouble doing the tail. So now for this side, I'm just going to continue the bottom of a Tyrantrum, like the chest area, just so it can line up on the other side. So you guys can just do this shape right here and just curve it, you know, that way you know where to do the other side of the tail. It just helps make it a little bit more accurate. That way it doesn't look weird. If we just guess, you know, that way it kind of lines up and it makes sense overall. So right there, I cut a lot of the tail right there at the top just to make it thinner, just because if you guys look at the reference, it gets really thin and it's smooth, you know. It's not like really thick and then it's all of a sudden it gets thin. So it slowly gets thinner. So I erase that. You guys might have to make a few changes, you know. It doesn't have to be like the reference, and it doesn't have to be like mine. So if there's anything that you guys could do to your drawing, then go ahead, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright guys, so now right there, we're gonna start by doing this line right there. It basically continues the line from the first shape that we did, and then around here we're gonna do another one. We're just gonna curve it, and basically this is gonna be the other leg, like the other thigh, where the knee is basically. And right here I'm just pointing out that it should like be all the same thickness, you know, the line, the shape, that is. So just try to keep it consistent to how thick it is, you know, because like I said, this is one of the legs. So now that we have that, we could actually start doing the feet. So the feet goes up to that line, the reference line that we did, and then it just goes down. So something else that we're gonna do is basically do another gap and do another line right here at the bottom, and this one's just gonna help us do the feet, to know how long to do it. So right here I'm showing you guys the distance between the reference line that we had before and the top of the circle. So you guys could just use the paper, use your finger, so you guys could just guess, and you guys could just roughly do the same length, you know. There we go. So now we can curve this one, and it just connects to around there. And like I said, right now we're just doing the rough sketch of it, like the rough shapes. So we're gonna start adding details later. So just try to get these shapes as close as you can, you know, the size and everything as close as you can to the way I have it. That way it's easier to do all the details, you know. So right here, just do the rest of the leg, the foot. And now on this side, and actually on mine right here, I do it more to the left and I extend it way too much. It doesn't seem the same as the reference, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly like the reference. But now we could do this one, and this one I was pointing out that it should be roughly the same size as the other one, thickness that is. So you guys could just try to keep it consistent with the other one. And on the reference, this one is actually a little bit thinner than the one on the right, but I try to make mine the same just to make it a little bit easier. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. We could just do that. You guys could also do that. Alright guys, so now that we have that, now it's about adding all the details. If you guys look at the reference, we basically got the overall shape, so now it's just about adding details. So hopefully you guys were able to get your sketch or your shapes like me, and now it's just about adding the details. So right here we're going to start off by doing one of the teeth, the one in the back, that is. And we're gonna kind of follow the circle a little bit, and then we're gonna leave a gap, and then we're gonna do another one right here. And this one doesn't, it touches the shape, the first shape that we did at the beginning. If you guys notice right here, I'm pointing out. So as long as you guys keep those teeth in between that spot, it's gonna work out, you know. So then he has like these really small teeth right there in between those that you could barely tell. So now that we have that, we could just do the bottom of the snout. So we're gonna use the circle right there just to help us know basically the size of it and everything, where to do all these lines. So right there, curves straight, and then it goes up a little bit, and it just curves in. So now around here we're gonna do basically the scale that he has on the forehead. So it goes up to that line right there, and it just goes straight, and then it goes down, and then he has a smaller one in the bottom right now. So we could just do it, make it parallel to the one on top, and this one is a lot smaller, so we could just do it a little bit shorter. And this one goes out a little bit, and then it just connects to this one right here. If you guys look at the reference, the shape of it on the reference, the snout is a little bit longer than the way I have it here, but like I said, it doesn't have to be the same, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. The way it looks right here is okay. I was happy with this. So like I said, if there's anything that you guys don't end up doing the same, you guys could always change it or just make it work with your drawing. So now right here we're gonna do one of those yellow spikes that he has in the forehead, which is gonna be where this one's gonna be where his eye is. So we're gonna make it about that long. So just compare it to that shape that we did earlier. You see, it basically goes in the middle. Alright, so now to get the top, we're gonna do the other side right here, sticks out around there, and just try to make it the same distance. Or not the same distance, but this, the same as long as the other one on the other side, you know, just to make it a little bit more easier on us. And then we could just curve it and basically connect it, you know, and it just makes it a little bit easier to get the length of those yellow spikes, you know. Now when we do the spikes, we know how long they are, you know, basically where they go up to. So just doing these reference lines really helps. Alright, so now there's another line right here. This one goes about halfway than the previous ones that we did. Then this one, just showing you guys. And then it just connects to the other one. To this one right here. So that's going to be one of them. So then this one, actually, right there I make it straight up, but it should curve a little bit more. So then the other one sticks out around here. And it should be the same length as the one we did before, and then you just curve it in and connect it to the other one, which basically makes like a triangle shape. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now for the last one, basically this one sticks out around there, and once again it connects to that one, and then we're gonna use the same one to make another of those spikes. So just go up basically in the middle and just hook it up to there. There we go. So now we basically got the forehead, guys. That's why I said it wasn't gonna be easy, but at the same time it wasn't gonna be hard. As long as you guys got those shapes at the beginning, you know, then you guys the rest is gonna be a little bit easier, because it's just gonna be all about placing everything, you know. So hopefully you guys are starting to see Tyrantrum a little bit, like his snout and his eye. So right here we're gonna start off by doing his eye. And it just connects to around here. If you guys notice, it fits in right there. And I color in the eye right now in pencil just because it looks and right here the eye, the circle should actually be in the middle. I make mine a little bit higher. I do change that once I do my final drawing. but right here I color it in just so you guys can see, just so it looks a little bit better, you know. There we go. And it just helps you look at our sketch a little bit better. It makes a little bit more sense just by knowing where the eye is. So then if you guys look at the reference, he also has these lines right there going in the middle of those shapes. And then the snout, I mean the nostrils goes around here. And then the right here, right this corner, he has like another tooth coming out that you guys could barely see. And then we're gonna use that shape right here for the mouth, the small gap in between. And then in the middle we're gonna do a little bit to the right of the middle, we're gonna do a line going up, and it's basically gonna be like the tongue. So now this shape at the top is actually the top of his head that it shows on the reference. And then around here it has this like triangle shape, and right here I make mine a little bit bigger than it should be. I do change that later on. I make it a little bit smaller, but maybe now you guys can see what that is. So then we're gonna do this line right here, and then the other side starts around here at the bottom outside of the shape, and then we can just connect it. And it's basically like the jaw. So if yours is not lining up, guys, make it work with you, you know, like just try to look at the reference and just try to add that if it doesn't work for you guys. Right here, sharpening my pencil just because the drawing is really small, and the finer tip you have, the better it is to do small lines, to do to get in those small places, you know. So that's why I sharpen mine. But yeah, so just make it work with your drawing. If it doesn't turn out well, then you guys could always try again, or maybe there's better tutorials out there on how to draw Tyrantrum that might help you out. But don't give up, you know. So then around here, I'm gonna do that little dot just because it's gonna help me place these triangle shapes right here, which is basically like the fur around his neck. So he has like a really small one right there. There's a small gap between that and the spike on his forehead, and then another one it's a little bit bigger right there, but they basically connect. So now the other one, the other side should end around there. I'm just looking at the reference, basically where it should the other side starts. Right here I'm just pointing out where it's roughly around the top of those two, where those two meet almost. So now that I know where it basically should be, I could just start it off, and then I could just connect it in both sides. So it helps just knowing where you're gonna go instead of just going for it, you know. So this is another thing that I recommend you guys doing on all your drawings, just paying attention to where you're gonna go and just basically connecting both sides. So now we're gonna start the one in the bottom. This one doesn't go further than the belly, basically the chest. So it's basically this triangle shape. And then this one, and then the other one on the other side goes a little bit further than the leg, and this one once again barely sticks out of the belly. And then we could just connect it to this side, on this one on the other side. So now this one goes to around the middle of that shape of the leg. And it connects to around there. It doesn't connect to the actual leg. Alright, so now we need to do 2 more. So now this one, actually the tip should be around here, so we'll just do a dot right there. And now we could just extend this line, because it's almost like a straight line going left, but it curves down a little bit at the point, and it doesn't go further than the leg. And then we could just connect it to the bottom right there, since we know where it's gonna go, you know. Now for the last spike is gonna be a little bit easier, just because we know on both sides where it is. Now we can just pay attention to how far it goes away from the body, from the tail, that is. If you guys look at the reference, is the one that goes the furthest out, so we could just do that, and we could just make this shape once again. And we basically got the neck area. Right here I actually erased the neck, but I redraw it just because I kind of got confused with all those lines, so I redraw it right now. So don't erase this one, guys. This is actually something that's gonna stay there, so we could just erase all those other lines. That way it doesn't make it that confusing, you know, having so many lines, and it just makes it look a little bit better. So we could just erase all these reference lines. That's why I said earlier to do your line slide, just because there's so many lines that we are gonna be erasing. This one too, it actually doesn't connect to anything. The top up here. Alright, so I like to tell where it is right here, so I'm just gonna add that spike on the tail, the detail basically. Just extend it up a little bit right here. Just look at the reference, guys. That's why I have it up there, because like shapes like this, these are really hard to explain how to do. So that's why just having the reference there and you guys knowing how it should be just makes it a little bit easier. So I made the reference a little bit bigger just to make it a little bit more clear for you guys. And then around here we're gonna do like the bottom jaw of Tyrantrum. So this one doesn't, it basically doesn't go further than that earlier shape that we did, and this one barely sticks out, and this one's bigger. And if you guys notice, this one's outside of the leg, of the foot that is, and it goes up to that line basically. And this is like a bigger one. This one goes almost to the middle of the foot. It's basically in the middle. So now we can start off on the other side. So we could just do this one right here, and it goes once again up to that shape of the leg, of the foot, yeah, the leg, and then it's just connected to the bottom one right here, and we basically got the bottom jaw of Tyrantrum. Now we could just erase those reference lines right there, that way it's not that confusing. It makes it a little bit easier to look at and basically see what we have. So hopefully now it's starting to be a little bit more clear for you guys. I know having all those shapes kind of makes it a little bit confusing, but I found that that was the only way to basically do Tyrantrum to a point where everybody could draw it almost, you know. He's, like I said before, he wasn't going to be really easy, but he wasn't going to be really hard as long as you guys got those shapes there. That's something that I do different from other people that do tutorials, that I try to do shapes at the beginning, something that you guys could do, you know, try to make the same size or like all that, and then basically just add all the details, and it just makes the drawing, which I think just makes it a little bit easier, instead of just like drawing Tyrantrum, starting one point and just going from there. Alright, so now right here we're gonna do the arm, or the hand that is. So right here I'm doing these like how should I say, almost like an M. I did almost an M right here. Basically that's where the claws is gonna be. So it goes to around there. Just connect it just to make the arm. Now that we have that, we can just do the claws. And another thing that I noticed is that this claw, we can make it up to that reference line. It basically lines up with the point of where the knee is. Basically, if you guys look at the reference, it basically lines up, so we could just do the same. Now this one, this one's a little bit bigger, but you guys could do them the same size, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly like the reference. Now the other one on the other side, and right here it didn't line up exactly like the reference, but like I said, we could just make it work for us and just add it where we think it would be, you know. Once again, I do like this M shape, and then I just do the claws. Because if you guys notice, this claw that I'm doing right here, it's actually really close to the fur of the jaw. And if you guys look at the reference, it's actually a small gap in between those, but like that's just a small thing. It's not something that's gonna affect the whole drawing, you know. So if we could just do that, you know, it doesn't really change the drawing. It just makes it look like it's basically a little bit under his chin a little bit more, you know. So those are the kind of things that I was telling you guys, that if you guys can make changes, if it doesn't add up like the way I have it here or the reference, you guys could just make any changes just so it could look good on your drawing. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean by that, but hopefully you guys do. So now right here we could just start by adding all these like details, the scale patterns that he has on the tail. Right here I think I make mine way too big. I do make them a little bit smaller once I do my final drawing. But yeah, because if you guys notice right there, I wasn't able to do the bottom part of that. And then right here you can barely right in the middle see like this, the top of a triangle shape almost. And then right here we're gonna do this line right here, which is basically gonna be like the body, and then off of that we're gonna just connect the tail right there. And then on the bottom we're just gonna do another one, which is basically gonna connect the leg, and it basically gives us that shape where the tail splits from the leg and the body. Now on this side we could do this like scale shape, and another thing here on mine, look, on mine it's really small. If you guys look at the reference, that gap is way bigger, you know. So it doesn't really matter, guys. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly like the reference, and it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. So as long as you guys can make any small changes, then it's all good, you know. It makes it a little bit better looking than if you try to copy the reference, and it's not gonna end up looking the same. It's just gonna look a little bit more weird. So just do changes to your drawing to make it look better. Now on this side, and then once again I do mine here way bigger, a lot bigger than I should, because the only reason I'm doing these the same size is because if you guys look at the reference, they're basically the same size. The scales, that is, the scales on that knee, the scales on the tail, and the scales on the top of his head are basically the same size. So once I do my final drawing, I make them a little bit smaller and just try to keep them consistent. So that's another small detail that you guys could pay attention to while you guys are drawing a Tyrantrum. Now here for the foot, I actually do it two different ways. Right here I start off by doing the basic shape of the toe. So if you guys notice, it's like right in the middle of the leg, of the foot I mean. So you guys could just do this shape, and then the other shape sticks around here and it just curves in a little bit. Now the same thing on the other side. I don't know which way might help you guys, or you guys could just go ahead and look at the reference and do it your own way. But another thing I wanted to point out is that all these basically line up, you know. They're the same height, they're the same, you know, one's not higher than the other one. So that's another thing that you guys can pay attention to. And then right here I just add the claw. So this one I extended a little bit more. Right here it looks way too long compared to the other ones. I could have left it like that, honestly. Now that I'm looking at it, it's not that bad. But just by making this one that I just did small, then I basically have to cut this one a little bit smaller too. And we basically got that side all. And now for this side I actually do it different. Instead of doing the toe, I actually do the claw first. And on this side they're actually bigger than the ones on the left, just because this leg's a little bit closer than the other leg. But once again, you guys could just do them the same size. Right here I'm just looking at the reference and looking where the actual claw is, and then this one actually connects to that one. It kind of comes off that one, so I do that. And then now that I have the claws, I could just do the toe, the shape of the toe. I look at the reference, I notice this one goes a little bit outside of the leg, and then it just goes to around here, and it looks a little bit awkward, guys. Yeah, it doesn't look right, but I do fix it once I do my final drawing. That's one of those things that I do change. I take my time on it later on. So now this one, and if you guys notice, this one I make it a little bit higher than the other one. I do fix that later on, although it's not a big thing, you know. It's not something you're gonna notice right away. But I think doing it the other way helps a little bit better than doing it that way by starting out by doing the claws. So you guys could try it either way. And then he has these like lines right there in the foot. And we basically got Tyrantrum done, guys. Our reference right here, I'm just adding all the small details. For example, those small lines right there, these right here on the neck area, and now we just got to do the scales on the head. So basically we're done, guys. Right here, the way I do the scales is I look at the lines. You know, it has 2 lines right there, and right here, and then once I have those lines, I just meet them up in the middle. The same thing on the other side. And then right at the point where they meet up, it has like another line. So that's the way I have it, guys. So I don't know, that might be a little bit hard. It's just like side guard. When I was doing side guard, doing those scales was a little bit tough, you know, just because it was like you had to get basically the same shape over and over again. And I'm talking about 50% side guard, guys. So if you guys haven't seen it, make sure to go check that tutorial out. It's under legendary Pokemon. So basically that's it, guys. Now it's about just going back on the drawing, and if something doesn't look right, now's the best time to make any changes, you know. One of the things that I end up changing is the things on the yellow spikes on his forehead. I don't like the shape of them. Right here they look a little bit rough, so I do go back and I change those. But basically this is where you guys just go back, you know, look at your drawing overall, and if something looks off, then make any changes now before you guys do your final drawing. That way it looks a little bit better. But since I'm mostly happy with it, I'm just gonna leave it like that. And then what I end up doing is that I end up erasing my whole drawing, just so once I do my final drawing it looks a little bit more clean. I know other people instead, they just work on their sketch and then just basically make any changes to that and just erase all those reference lines and basically the sketch. So once I erase my whole drawing, I can still see those lines. If you guys pay close attention, even though I erased them, you guys can still see them. So now that what I do is I basically start off in one area and just start from there. I use the sketch that as a reference, you know, and I just make any changes that I see. I'm looking at the reference and I just basically make those changes that I think are good. Like I said before, I do end up changing the spikes on the forehead, make them a little bit better. And then once I have that, just keep going and looking at the sketch at the reference, you know, and just basically making any small changes that I can to make it a little bit better. And then this is how it ends up looking like right here. This is the final drawing, guys. It's the same as the sketch. The only thing that I did change, like I said before, was the size of the scales a little bit. You guys might be able to tell on the you guys might be able to tell on the tail, on the middle of the tail. I made the lines a little bit better. You guys might be able to see where they were before if you guys pay close attention to them. Another thing that I did change was, I think, yeah, the toes on the feet. I made them basically the same size. If you saw the sketch before, the ones on the right leg, on our right, looking at him on the right side, they were a little bit bigger than they were on the one on the left. So I basically worked on the toes a little bit, try to make them the same size, basically the same shape, and just basically did that. So that's another thing that I did change. Another thing that I ended up changing was, I think that's it, guys. Oh yeah, the ear, basically like the triangle where the ear is, I made that a little bit smaller. If you guys look at it, you guys might be able to see where it was before. But basically that's it, guys. If you guys notice, it looks really similar to the reference, and but it's not exactly the same, you know. It looks a little bit different, and it's okay, you know. Like I said before, if you guys got any changes that you guys could do to your sketch just to make it work with your drawing, then go ahead and make those changes. It doesn't matter if it doesn't end up looking like the reference. The reference there is just to help us, you know. But overall, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was gonna be, but I obviously know at the beginning it wasn't gonna be easy, so it was alright, you know. I think that some of you might have a hard time, but I think you guys could do it, you know. If you guys just go for it, if it doesn't come out good the first time, then take a break, you know. Try it another day and then just go for it, and it's just gonna be a little bit more easy just because you guys are gonna basically know a little bit more. So the next time you guys do it, it might be a little bit easy if you guys have trouble the first time. So that's my advice. Or maybe there's another tutorial out there on Tyrantrum that just might be a little bit easier than mine, then go ahead and can do that, you know. But yeah, so this is the end drawing results, how it ends up looking like. I used my Prisma Premier color markers to color Tyrantrum. I used kind of like this really dark pinkish purplish color, not purple, like dark pink, faded reddish color. It was the closest color I had to Tyrantrum. And then for like the highlight areas, so that you can barely see them, I used like a really light brown, and I just basically blended them in where they connect. And then for the yellow, for like the gold areas, I just used a regular gold. Something that I forgot to do is just go back with that gold and just add like the shadows on that part. But it's still alright, you know. Overall, it still came out okay. And then for the gray, I just used the regular gray for the shadows on the white. And I kind of guessed on mine, just because if you guys look at the reference, it doesn't have shadows right there. It looks a little bit like old school drawing, the reference that is. So I kind of guessed on mine, you know. I basically saw where I thought was the shadows and where I thought were the highlights. But I tried using the reference a little bit, just because I like where everything was placed, you know. So I used the light brown as the highlights, although it came out a little bit too dark. So, but at the same time, you guys, I'm not good at coloring, so don't judge me on that, just because ever since I started my channel, I always told you guys that I wasn't that good at coloring, just because it wasn't a thing that I would normally do, you know. Usually I just draw my drawings, I don't color them. So I'm still learning, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you guys. But yeah, and then since it was a dark color, usually on my last drawing, Jirachi, I left it in pencil. But this one, since it was really dark, I had to do an outline, a darker outline, just so you could tell what's what, you know. So I used the fine tip Sharpie to basically outline Tyrantrum, like all those lines. The only thing that I didn't end up outlining was the scales, just because I didn't want that to stand out too much, you know. So I left them like that in pencil. And overall, I think it came out okay, guys. So hopefully you guys found my tutorial helpful. If you guys didn't, I'm sorry, but like I said before, you guys could try it another time or just look for another video. So yeah, so let me know how you guys did. Let me know in the comment section if you guys ended up drawing Tyrantrum. I really want to know. And remember that you guys could always send in your Pokemon drawings to be featured at the beginning of my videos, just like the ones you saw on this one. So make sure to send them in. The links will be in the description for my email, Twitter, and Facebook. Although I don't use Facebook, guys, so I recommend you guys send them to my Twitter and email, just because those are the easiest places that you will it's easier for me to see them, you know. So make sure to send them in. And like always, guys, leave any comments letting me know any Pokemon you guys want me to draw. But remember that it might take a while for me to do it, just because there's so many requests out there. But ask anyways, you know. Maybe I already have a tutorial on the Pokemon you guys want me to draw. But yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I guess I'll just catch you guys on the next video. Team Rocket Draws out.